Hey guys, this is how to do Snoop Dogg Stoich for grams and moles. So the beginning of this, I'm going to focus on just grams and moles and then show you also how you can figure out if you're going to grams or moles or molecules or whatever. So the steps in the beginning are still the same. You always want to put your given information in the first box. I really encourage you to do all these steps every single time. So how many grams in 10 moles of SRF2? Great. Well, my given is 10 moles of SRF2, so I'm going to write that into my given. So 10 moles of strontium fluoride. That's what goes in my first box. Okay. Then, so what I have and what I want is always my first two steps. So what I want, it says how many grams. Okay, so that's what I want. How many grams of SRF2? That's my unknown, grams of SRF2. Third step is Snoop Dogg, drop it like it's hot. Moles of strontium fluoride come right here. Notice how I didn't automatically drop numbers, I just automatically drop units. All right, for those of you who use my packet, and my little graphic organizer, if you will, the first section that we learned was this here. Now we're focusing on this one here, moles to grams or grams to moles. So there's two ways to kind of look at this. What I first look at is what circle am I starting at? So there's three circle choices. We're going to kind of ignore the B ones for now for this level. So I can either be at grams or moles or particles. If I look here, I'm at moles. So that means I'm at this circle right here, okay? Then I look for what I'm going to. I want to go to grams. So if I'm here in this circle and I want to go to grams in this circle, then these are the paths that I need to choose. One way you can look at this is following the black arrow. So if I'm going from, if I have moles and I want to get to grams, then I want to follow the arrow going this direction. So that's going to tell me there's 1 mole on the bottom and then some type of mass on top. Or if you're doing the Snoop Dogg way, Snoop made me drop moles like it's hot. So I need to choose whichever of my choices have moles. Oh, sorry, drop it like it's hot. So the moles are on bottom. Which one of these has the moles on bottom? It's this one right here. So that tells me I have the 1. So I put my 1 in. And it tells me that I need to do something called molar mass on top. If you forget that mass means grams for our context here, then write it in. Mass means grams. In this case of SRF2, strontium fluoride. And you might see my little arrow there from the periodic table. I get the grams from the periodic table. So that means that I'm going to look up strontium and I'm going to look up fluorine. I'm going to look up their masses. So I'll flip my sheet over here. Strontium is right here, 87.62. And then fluorine right here is over here, 19.00. Also notice that I have 2 fluorines, so I do need to double that. Okay, I do need to double that. So we'll go ahead and do that in our calculator. 19 times 2 plus 87.62. That's going to give us 125.62. So this part here is 125.62. The units, anytime you do that, go into the periodic table thing, the units are grams per mole. Okay, the units are grams per mole. I already have the mole part plugged in. So that means the gram part must go up here, 125.62 grams per mole. It's exactly phrased in the same way that we wrote it. Double check your Snoop Dogg, cross out your units, moles of SRF2, moles of SRF2. I'm left with grams of SRF2, and that's exactly what I want, so I'm ready to solve. Remember that as you go across, you multiply 10 times 125.62 divided by 1. Okay, so that's going to be what I do. I've got 10 times 125.62 divided by 1. For those of you who understand that when you divide by 1, it's the same number, then you are fine. So I get 1256.2. What are my units? Whatever my units are in my last box here has to be my unit. So it's grams of SRF2. That would be how I got my answer on that one. Now let's look at one that's similar. How many moles in 150 grams of Mg3N2? So that's the one we're working on now. I still start with whatever I'm given. Always, always these 3 steps. Okay, what am I given? 150 grams of magnesium nitride. 150G, Mg3, and 2. Okay, that's my given. Always my second step is, what am I looking for? What am I looking for? I want moles of that same combo. Moles of Mg3N2. All right, third step, Snoop Dogg says, drop it like it's hot. So I bring my grams down here. And now I'm ready to use my graphic organizer. I've done my 3 steps. What I have, what I want, drop it. What I have, what I want, drop it. Now we need to figure out where I'm at. So notice that I'm starting with grams. I'm starting with grams. So if I look at my 3 choices here, I must be starting here. It's my only place with grams. So if you look, there's only one thing your grams actually connects to. It's the moles. I have to go grams to moles. There's nothing else for me to choose. And notice how the circles are not connected here. So I've got to go grams to moles. Okay. So if I'm going grams to moles, for you who like the arrows, I'm going from this to that. So I'm following this arrow over here. It tells me the mass goes on bottom and the mole goes on top. Okay, if you're following Snoop Dogg, I dropped grams like it's hot. I need to choose whichever one of these has grams like it's hot. Mole is not grams, so it can't be this one. It's got to be this one. Mass, oh yeah, mass is grams. Cool, cool, cool. I'll do grams on the bottom, and it tells me 1 mole goes on top. So either technique is fine. That's a mole of Mg3N2. All right, now remember, if I'm looking for molar mass, I've got to go to the periodic table. If you need to write that in, do it, okay? No matter if molar mass is on top or bottom, I've got to go to the periodic table. So I'm going to be looking at magnesium and nitrogen. All right, here's magnesium, 24.31. Notice that I have 3 of them, so don't forget about multiplying it by how many you have. All right, now let's look up our value for nitrogen. Here's nitrogen, 14.01. Same thing, I need to factor in my 2 here, so I need to multiply that by 2. Okay, so I've got 24.31 times 3. And then I'm going to add to that 14.01 times 2. Obviously, you'll figure out how to do that in your calculator, different ways to do it. So 100.95, that's what this whole business equals, 100.95 grams per mole. Now, a lot of times once you, am I frozen? There we go. All right, a lot of times when you do that, the default is to put that number on top. That's just what we like to do. But notice you don't have a space for it. You've already plugged in the 1 there. So don't let that throw you off. The only space I have for those grams is 100.95, and the grams is there. We want whatever part is with the grams to go with the grams. So it would go there. And then remember, per mole means per 1 mole. That's why that says 1 mole. Double check that Snoop Dogg helped to get rid of your units. So you're left with moles of magnesium nitride, and sure enough, that's what you want. So you're ready to go. Again, multiply across 150 times 1, and then divided by 100.95. So for those of you who understand that timesing it by 1 keeps the number the same, that's fine. Or you can do out all the steps, doesn't matter. So we get 1.49. I'm not being really significant with significant figures right now, especially for distance learning, so don't stress about it. So 1.49 moles of that whole thing, so I can even circle it like that. 1.49 moles of Mg3N2. So that's how you do the grams to moles or moles to grams. The biggest challenge for when you start really getting into stoichiometry is figuring out what you have and where you're going. So I'm going to show you one where I'm not going to tell you which one it is, and you have to figure it out based on the units that you have and the units that you want. Okay, so right now we've learned this part and we've learned this part, so we could choose, is it this one or is it this one based on the information it has. So here's the problem. How many atoms and 7 moles of beryllium sulfide? I still start with what I have, 7 moles of beryllium sulfide. I still write what I want. Atoms of beryllium sulfide is what I want. I still drop it like it's hot without thinking. Those are my 3 steps. Okay, drop it like it's hot. What I have, what I want, drop it. What I have, what I want, drop it. Now I refer to this to see where I am and where I'm going. So where I am is at moles. If we look at our three choices here, that's this circle. It's not grams, it's not particles, molecules, blah, blah, blah. I'm at moles. Okay, so that's where I'm starting. That's the circle I'm on. I look at what I want, and I want to get to atoms. So I look at my choices. I could go from here to here. That would get me grams. I don't want grams. I could go from here to here. That can give me particles, molecules, ions, atoms. There's the one I want. Cool. So I'm going to go this way. And if you follow the black arrows, that means 1 mole on the bottom and 6.02 on the top. If you're using more the Snoop Dogg technique and you're not sure yet, Snoop made me put moles on the bottom. So I need to choose whichever one of these has moles on the bottom. There it is. There's the mole on the bottom. So it tells me 1. It also tells me that I put 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd on the top. What are my units for that thing? Well, I have choices: particles, molecules, ions, atoms, formula units. Any of those are good. Since I want atoms, I'm going to go ahead and pick the atoms one. It's not really atoms. It would really be like formula units or molecules, but it's fine. Don't worry so much about the problems I made up. Okay, so I've got moles of beryllium sulfide. They cancel out. I'm left with atoms, which is exactly what I want. So I'm ready to solve. 7 times 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd divided by 1. So the whole point right before I solved for this one, I didn't know which one I had to use. I wasn't sure if it was going to be moles to grams or grams to moles or moles to particles or particles to moles. By writing my 3 steps, what I have, what I want, drop it, it's going to help you figure out where you're going. Where am I starting? Right here. Where do I want to go? Right here. Okay. So let me just solve this one for you. 7 times 6.02 times 10 raised to the 23. If you want to do the divided by 1, you can. There's my answer. 4.2 times 10 to the 24th. Don't forget about that part. A lot of people don't look over here, but that is significant because the number 4.2 is very different from 4.2 billion trillion. So, or even more than billion trillion in this case. So just keep that in mind and make sure you write the whole thing down in terms of the exponent. And that would be my answer in this one. So the key for this section, so for people in my class, for page 4, you have to figure out if you need this one or if you need this one. So setting up those 3 steps is what's going to guide you. I hope this helps. Thank you so much.